All right. Well, it's been a while. Kind of been putting off making this video because, well, as you can see, there's a different car behind me. So it's kind of the end of one era, beginning of another. Sadly, there was an incident in April. A little embarrassed because I left my worn racing tires on my car, drove to work early in the morning. It happened to be particularly cold that morning. When I was almost at work, a dog or a deer, not completely sure which one, stepped out in the center divide. I made an evasive maneuver, went to correct to come back around, and the car slid like it was on black ice. I'm totally fine. I was going like 25, 30 tops, so it felt like slow motion. Sadly, there was a tree right at the edge of the road that was a big, thick tree. When I come back and do edits, I'll try and stick some photos on the sides just to give an idea. So unfortunately the insurance company deemed it totaled, even though it was really not going that fast. So I took the insurance money, turned around, and stepped down to a 3, so slightly smaller. Went 2 years newer, but I wanted to stay third gen, just because I felt like I wasn't done. They drive so well. I got it for just a few thousand more than what insurance gave me. So I've had it for a couple months. Haven't done, it's still stock-ish so far. If you look under the hood, it is basically stock from an under the hood perspective. But I salvaged a lot of parts. So I've got my ultralight battery here, down here. In that box is the supercharger that I rescued. I've got an upgraded intercooler hiding in here that's going to probably up performance and just help reduce heat soak. In terms of the car, the new 3, it's a 2018. I got the Grand Touring. It's half the miles, so I went from, my old car was at like 70 something thousand miles. Got this one at 32,000 miles. Already got the subwoofer swapped over because priorities. And then I ended up going with a center exit exhaust that I'm really, really happy about. I'll post some sound clips after at the end of this video. The 3 has no cutouts, so it seemed like a perfect excuse to do kind of what I always envisioned with the 6, but felt a little weird because it had exhaust cutouts. Obviously, it's the dark gray. I think it's called polymetal gray. I did take it to the track for the first time last weekend because I wanted to see what would it do on stock shocks, stock springs, and NA. It is tuned with the sauce tune from Justin, so it's not fully stock, but stock intake, still had the stock battery. Obviously, no supercharger yet. That's going to be coming soon. I do have the 3 trophies as memorabilia. Last 3 times the 6 was out at the track, got 3rd place, so I'm excited. What's interesting is even without the supercharger and without coilovers, I managed to pull 5th place at the last event in front wheel drive, which speaks to the size difference. So apparently I'd been underestimating how heavy the 6 was compared to the 3. A buddy that's got the supercharger went and actually put his 6 on scales, and it was over 3,400 pounds. I got this used from a Porsche dealership, and after chatting it up with the sales rep and explaining what I'm planning to do with it, he actually put it on the scales for me, and it weighed in at 3,001 pounds. So basically 3,000 even to start with. And then obviously it'll go down with putting the lighter battery, lighter exhaust, lighter wheels, lighter suspension. I'll add some weight with the supercharger, but I think with everything else, I'll offset it. But that's 400 pounds lighter than the 6, and I can definitely feel it. It's also a foot shorter overall, 5 inches shorter wheelbase, 2 inches narrower wheelbase. I ran with the sticky tires, the new RE71 RS, which are better tires than I've ever run with. So I think it's part of why I did well on the 245s with less weight. So this thing's going to be a monster once I get the supercharger back on it. I don't have a specific date yet, but I do have the supercharger sitting in a box. I've got the intercooler. I rescued the oil cooler here, so I'm going to be putting that back on. I think this time around, I want to avoid having to worry about scraping or just clearance underneath, so I'm going to do an oil filter relocation kit. So I've got some ideas on how I'm going to set things up a little bit differently. This one has much smaller fog light things, and it comes with fog lights, so I don't think I'm going to do the intercooler in the same place as I did on the 6. I'm not decided yet. We'll see. I may sacrifice the fog, but I've got some different ideas. I actually have a industrial, like waterproof agricultural 120 millimeter fan and a couple of 80 millimeters that I might use to mount on the oil cooler, so that I can mount it in a place that isn't directly exposed to air, and then have a switch that I can turn on. So I'm still kind of toying with some different ideas there. I expect in the next month or two to put the supercharger on. I can't reuse the same cold air intake because it doesn't fit the 3, so I will probably do a short ram intake with the cone filter. It does pull a little more warm air, but it sounds so good with the supercharger. So we'll see. There's some people that are making some different ways of routing some extra cold air in. So we'll see. I might do something related to that. I ordered Silver's Neomax coilovers, so I'm going for better coilovers this time around. Similar spring rate to what I did last time. So I'm getting them with Swiss springs, 7K in the front, 8K in the back. Again, I'm going to experiment with disconnecting the front sway bar, putting some extra shims of bump stop in there, and see how much that can help my lap times, because there's no limited slip here, and that's a big disadvantage. So the main competitors I have are brand new or very new Civic Type Rs, fully tuned suspension, and as well as the latest gen of Golf GTI, which tuned both the Civic Type R and the Golf GTI, or the Mini Cooper SG something special edition. They all have more power than I do. They all have limited slips. So I've got to do everything I can to make up for the lack of limited slip. So I'm hopeful that once I've got the coilovers and the supercharger in here, I can be competing for first and really establish the Mazda with the supercharger as the quickest front-wheel drive in the region, period. So I'm hopeful. So it's a bittersweet video to finally be making. I'm sad to see the 6 gone. 7 years I owned that car. It was a great experience. Had never modified a car before that, so I learned a ton. But I'm going to come back stronger than ever with a lighter, smaller, quicker car with some extra features, because it's the Grand Touring, and it's the last year they made the 3rd gen. It seems like the TCM, the transmission control modules, got a little more aggressive tune. It shifts a little faster than my old car. And then I did this time around. Last time I swapped a high flow secondary cat, and this time I just pulled the mid pipe off, and then I actually gutted the secondary cat, and then I fully wrapped the mid pipe in like a silicone fiberglass mat that's used for barbecues, to fireproof mat, as heat insulation to try to maximize performance, and then did it all the way back. So I think the new exhaust is actually flowing even better than the one I had on the 6. So all things told, I expect to come back better than ever. I'll make some other videos when the coilovers get here, when I reinstall the supercharger, and in the interim I'm probably gonna get some other small changes under the hood, get the other little battery, do some extra heat insulation around the headers in the back to try to minimize hood temperatures. Oh yeah, one bonus thing this time around, I have ordered a carbon fiber hood with vents, so that'll be fun to take this to the next level, something I always wanted to do, but never really had an excuse. One mistake I made with this car, I got it for a really good price. It was like $2 to $4 grand than anything similar I could find. And then I got it home and I figured out why. And it's maybe not obvious in the video, but if you look real close, you'll see that the hood is not exactly the same color as the bumper. This piece and the bumper and everything else matches, just not the hood. So I'm not completely sure what happened, but I'm going to solve that because I'm getting a carbon fiber hood, which will reduce weight. It'll help heat ventilation because it's going to have gills that actually draw heat out. So again, making it into a better situation. So this is my new 3, or new to me, 2018. I'm not changing the name of the channel. I'm not changing the name of my Instagram. I'll always be M6 Ninja because the Mazda 6 is what started it, and so I'm keeping the license plate that I'm going to run when I'm at the racing events. So yeah, I'm excited, kind of building back up, applying new knowledge now that I've done it before. I've got some other changes that I've done underneath that I'll maybe talk more about another time, where I custom reinforced the center chassis brace with some steel plate. I want to really keep the aerodynamics really good under the car because I'm trying to help downforce, and I expect to make it out to the ridge and some high-speed tracks. I'm probably going to do a little bit of a lip spoiler on top of the stock spoiler. I've got some ideas for sealing underneath entirely. I've already done some sealing with some screen where the exhaust tunnel is. So I've got some ideas on what I'm going to do to fill in the back under where the muffler would go. I'm not going to do like full strakes, but some kind of diffusory thing to get the air flowing well, because that airflow under the car can make a huge difference for downforce. So yeah, lots of plans, lots more to come. Bittersweet. I will never, ever, ever make the mistake of running racing tires when it's really, really cold out. I've read that that's a bad idea. I just was lazy and in a rush to get to work, and I will never make that mistake again. But I'm fine. It was just a car. I've got an upgrade, and I'm building back stronger. So thanks, everyone. That shit's a bitch. It's pretty wedged in there. I've got it loose, or I've got all the bolts off. I can move it barely. So I gotta figure out some way to pull this shit back. It's a little bit crunched, and it's fucking hot and noisy, and I'm ready to be done. But I want my compressor, bitch. It's been smooth. It seems like it's fine. Yeah, bitch. Got that out. Look at that. And smooth as butter. No crunchy, no resistance, seems to spin just fine. Everything looks still sealed and flush. Oh, fuck. That was exhausting. You can see it was wedged the fuck in there. So here it is. I saved the original box, so that's why I put it in. I got this block so nothing gets in there. It's got a little scratch, but all the rest of it, all the seams are still sealed. I can still see none of the bolts have moved. When I spin it, it spins nice and smooth, and I can hear it pump air. I was gonna see about pressure testing it, but you all built a really good, strong supercharger. It looks totally fine and square. So I'm gonna try and test it, but I plan to put it on another Mazda and keep going, because this is really well built. Still leaking a little coolant, but that's to be expected. All right, I got a little experimental after I put the exhaust on, and I used stainless steel mesh to cover the entire exhaust tunnel for a more flat floor, so that eventually when I do a rear diffuser, the airflow is less turbulent coming into it, because there's a lot of opportunity for turbulence. Everything I've read about aero online, trying to separate the myth and the bro science from the reality. You can see this should smooth things out a lot. That smoothness is important. So I stopped there because I think that's a good stopping point. Hopefully can tie something into that after I do the exhaust and get to some rear diffuser. I actually used some actual stainless steel mesh. It looks like regular screen, but this shit is really durable. It's super hard to cut. It cuts your fingers when you do cut it. Pretty fascinating. While I have it off, I thought I'd remind everybody what I did to the center brace. Heavily reinforced with some, I think it's 1/8 inch steel plate. So definitely a feelable difference, because it's right in the midpoint of the car where there's the exhaust tunnel. And Mazda thought enough to make this dual layer brace to start with. So beefing it up was definitely a good call. Obviously it would be ideal to weld, but I think with the bolt in the center and the crisscross shape, when it's bolted in, it's adding a lot of rigidity. So I want to do some unique setup since it has no cutouts and I didn't want to deal with the diffuser. Most of all, I wanted something really good free-flowing. So I went with this nice simple setup, almost no bend in the exhaust. Flows really well, just a little chambered muffler and a resonated tip. I've got some trim coming to clean up and cover the cuts, but overall I'm very happy with it.